Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm out on the road, so just have to bear with me. Mrs. Steve is in Florida taking care of the grandkids. But anyway, while I was out on the road, I decided that I had a pretty busy day, but wanted to get and was sitting around the room relaxing and was going through watching some other creators. And there's a creator out there who's an attorney. I'm sure a lot of y'all know of him and follow him. But as I was scanning through several different creators, I went through his channel and just happened to click upon a part of it, whereas he was talking about his reviewing the information and the from his notes that he took during the most recent Richard Allen hearing. And that's what inspired me to do today's show. But anyway, with today's show, if you're new to this channel, we want to welcome you and thank you for being here. And today we're going to be talking about, of course, Richard Allen and what this creator notes told him about where the case is going. And so while you're with our channel here tonight, while you're in chat, be respectful of the mods, the families, and each other. Enjoy yourself. And our normal presentation is generally I try to have a 20 or 30-minute presentation and answer questions as we go along. Tonight, the slideshow is very minimum, but regardless, it's key. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it appears that there's a rather large truck outside. Let's let him get out of here. Sorry about that, but that's just part of being out here on the road as you travel. But with the if you have any questions, just throw them in chat and I'll get to them the best I can as I cut through here and look at everybody. And but I appreciate y'all all being here. I couldn't do it without y'all. But anyway, the creator I was watching is Bob Motta. I hope I haven't mispronounced his name, but an extremely intelligent guy. He's in the law enforcement field. He would be pretty much a lot of people in law enforcement and in general population think that the defense attorneys are against is the opposite of law enforcement. That's not the case. They're a vital part of the of our judicial system. We absolutely have to have these attorneys for the fact that they work within the system and guarantee that everyone gets a chance at a fair trial. They believe in the Constitution wholeheartedly, and they'll defend it. They're not these attorneys, and you think about it, how much courage does it take to stand up against the general opinions of the population or the masses that your client is guilty? And although Bob Motta is not representing Richard Allen, but he does have his opinion about it, and I respect that. Don't agree with his opinion on a lot of things, but today, as I was watching him review his notes, something stood out, absolutely struck me, and I looked at everything and I said, yes, this is where the defense is going, and he is 100% correct that this is something that we should consider and that will have an impact on it, on this case. And so let's get into it. But if you have any information regarding this case, absolutely make sure that the prosecution, law enforcement, the defense has that information regarding the homicides of Abby and Libby. For the fact that for justice to be found, all the facts have to be out there, and to make sure that currently the individual, Richard Allen, who has been charged with this, is in fact the one that is responsible for it. And right now, of course, he's considered innocent until proven guilty. Now, do I have an opinion? Do I lean towards that he is the one responsible? Absolutely. And I still, regardless, and as we look at this, it doesn't mean that what Bob was talking about today doesn't mean that Richard Allen isn't involved. Doesn't mean that he's not the person responsible. But it does mean that the likelihood and possibility of Richard Allen having a hung jury is greatly increased due to some of the and the way that the defense is bringing their case about. And while I always looked at just the evidence itself, but now we have to look at other information that will come in. Absolutely will come in regardless of what the prosecution wants. The defense is going to be able to call certain witnesses, and it's those certain witnesses and the presentation and how the defense will elevate the person testifying to the highest level. And as we all know, that sometimes, especially with our modern juries and these juries that are conditioned to the CSI world, and who has the best show and what does that mean and where will it go. But before I get too far into the show, and let's see if I can get this thing working over here. Let's see. All right. Yeah, just want to make sure that everything's going pretty good. Let's see here. There's Anna. Started off with, for what it's worth, if he's not factually innocent, as two sets of attorneys have declared, I guess the investigation is so mucked up that a conviction will be difficult. That's pretty close to where I'm heading on this. And what will the defense do, and who will they call, and how will they hammer home these points of the incompetence, possible overlooking of evidence, and there's one big key thing that we'll get into in just a minute. But there's Cunningham. Good to see you. Support with Steffa. And still motivated Wolf said, if he's innocent, then out there are the real offenders. Two beautiful girls and their families deserve truth and justice. Absolutely. But like I say, I still believe they have the right individual. Doesn't mean just because you have the right individual, it's not what we think. This trial, these hearings that we're having, and that's just the court sorting out and setting everything up for what will occur. The only information that's going to matter, doesn't matter what comes out now to us, the general population, to the web sleuths, to everybody in the world, it doesn't count for anything. What counts is what these attorneys will get to bring before that jury, and that is what counts. And with that is where this whole case evolves and goes to. That all these hearings, we're going to have a trial. And whereas I've always thought that there was a good chance of a plea, I don't see that no more. I really think that we're going to go to trial, and I think we're going to have a lot of people testifying and some key individuals testifying. All right, there's Dandy Linus, Southern Gal, Di, hello, good to see you. Di says that I'm trusting that law enforcement knows more than me and has enough evidence for conviction. And I believe they have enough evidence for conviction, but it's not always just the evidence. And it always, I know they're fighting, trying to get that bullet thrown out. If they can get the bullet thrown out, or if they just get where we have two opposing experts and with a history of what some juries do with experts, that you have an expert that says, yes, this is absolute, and then you have a this is absolute truth, and then you have another expert that says, no, this is absolute false. That sometimes juries just toss it in the air, and it doesn't take the whole jury to toss it in the air. It only takes one juror that says, expert against expert, who do I believe? They're both better qualified than I, and so it's 50-50. So let's not even consider it. That happens a lot. And so that's the fail safe that the defense will have, that possibly will have an impact on this case along with this testimony. And the key point that we really have to look at, and where they're heading with this, in my opinion, is that they're going to strike along the lines of the inadequate police investigation. I was going back through doing some research after I watched the show and about wrongful convictions. And the number one thing that leads to wrongful convictions is an inadequate police investigation. Doesn't matter if they have absolutely the right guy or not, but that's what they're going to be throwing out there. And they have the numbers that show that, yes, sometimes law enforcement takes that one person, everything points to and looks at, and it's strong evidence, and they kick them and they throw them, and they get a conviction. And then we find out that it was an inadequate police investigation that led to a wrongful conviction. I'm not saying that is the case with this, for the fact that if that bullet and that expert is absolutely correct, and we know that the individual, Richard Allen, says he was on that bridge that day, wearing the clothes that is seen being worn as a bridge guy, that and also he has contacted his mother and his wife and says, hey, I'm the one guilty. And I'm with him. I tend to believe that with the probable cause and the other evidence and the experts, yes, they've got the right guy. That's my personal opinion. And, a lot of people says, well, I'm biased. Well, probably so, but that's the evidence I'm going with. Even if I wasn't biased with my law enforcement background, that information is huge to me. But anyway, all right, let's see who else we got in here. We got Wicked. Good to see you. Olivia too. Gail Hurd. Try not to get too far behind. And this is where we're going. I hope, where Gail says, I hope Richard Allen doesn't walk if he is guilty. And that's the thing, is that he could be guilty as sin. And a jury only takes one that can hold up and say that, no, we got a hung jury. And then we have to go back through this again. And you may have the same thing. But we just, like I said, this is what I saw and heard Bob Mata talking about the testimony, and that was put out there. And the testimony, of course, is while they, during this hearing, they had three different law enforcement officers speaking. Let's see, it was, which ones were they that were talking today? Let's see. They had unified command that he was talking about. Anyway, it was Holman, Mullins, and of course, the investigator Click. But investigator Click was there in court, and he gave some testimony about that he was shocked and confused with the Richard Allen arrest, and who he was absolutely has the opinion that is involved in this in some shape, form, or fashion. Speaking of EF, the Elvis Fields guy, and the reason I mention Elvis is, of course, this was his assignment, Investigator Click's assignment, to follow up, look at, and go into this possibility. And with his testimony and his conviction, and this is where it's dangerous for whatever the rest of the world thinks, that a lot of people look at a professional officer and they uh, that's strong. It's one thing when you have an average citizen up there, but when you have an officer that has a, a great career, who is passionate, who is honest, and is fighting against within the system of, well, this law enforcement says this person. When I had created other shows, I was under the impression that everyone was unified due to the unified command, and that those investigations were thrown to the wayside, and that yes, we followed them out to the end, and we reached a conclusion, and everything was over. That wasn't the impression that Bob Mata uh, uh, gave me as I was watching his show. His show, and his um, when he was speaking of and how it impressed on him that we have this officer who is a well trained, highly respected investigator, saying that this isn't done. This isn't right. This isn't the person responsible. My guy is the one that's responsible. And that's huge, guys. You think about it. Out of 12 jurors, if you throw out the bullet, and then you have another professional law enforcement officer standing up there who's not, who will be in the courts, because you can throw out and hold out a lot of stuff, but, you know, trying to stop a law enforcement officer that the defense is embracing and will bring to the stand. And what makes him think that these individuals, because if there was any alibis or anything that proved that showed investigator Click that um, the Elvis or EF, um, how did he know this information that he was giving about some of the sticks, some of the branches? Now, I didn't see the antlers or anything. Images that I had, like I said, I don't know if they were photoshopped or otherwise, don't know. But I never saw what antlers were. But if that is the case, and Investigator Click has that information, and my biggest fear of with the lost interviews and things of that nature with Investigator Click is that if because sometimes when you're interviewing individuals, they'll pick up on little clues from the law enforcement part that you'll feed them, and they'll take those little clues and feed upon them. And if we don't have the interviews to see if law enforcement was feeding him certain information, and I don't know which interviews we have, I don't know which ones we don't know how many times he was interviewed, have no idea, don't know the depth. But if some of that is lost, then of course, um, it and it appears that Investigator Click is absolutely um, um, has the impression that Elvis had information that he shouldn't have known. And if he did know it, how did he know it? And so that's where we're going with this. And it's a huge problem for the prosecution. Absolutely huge. Dandy Linus, good to see you. Junior Johnson. Nana, hello. Good to see you. If you got any questions, Barbara Hall, good to see you. If you don't know who Barbara Hall is, look up Timmy Dees. Barbara is the mother of his case and has been working hard over the years to find justice. Jim's mom, good to see you. Andy Linus. Hello, Big Bird 420. Good to see you. Let's see here. Hopper Horace, great to see you again, as always. Yeah, I'm just out here on the road and just wanted to come in for a few minutes. Gail Hurd gifted one True Crime Web membership. Well, let me get out here on the road. I'm trying to figure out how to work all this stuff and get everything set up, guys. Thank you for your support, Gail. Let's see here. BMB, good to see you. Molly Molly. Gail is on. She's on a roll tonight there. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm so far behind, but like I said, been out working, doing some photography. Still got travel. See, Monday I've got a couple of meetings. I've got to be on the road about 8 or 9 hours Monday. So I got a bunch of stuff to do. Ziggy. And then, of course, we got other things that's going on as I work some of the other cold cases. Hello, Mustang. Good to see you. And Gail, once again, that's three of them. Thank you. Oh, Bridget Bowman, $5. Hi, Steve. Just popping in. We'll catch replay. Thank you. It means a lot to us. We appreciate your support. I'll use that $5. I've used it already, I'm pretty sure. All right. And Gail, $10 super sticker. There's your blue light. Thank you. Appreciate your support. I pretty well have used that $10 too. I can pretty well guarantee you that. Oh, me. Thank y'all guys. It means a lot. Joe Moser, good to see you. Courtney Lane. Let's see here. Just check and make sure we don't have any questions and I'm not getting too far behind. I hate to get too far. Courtney Lane. Steve, what happened with his attorneys? Nothing now, unless something happened the last day or two. But the big things is where the attorneys are heading with this and what they're going to be doing about this investigation. And when I was going in there, like I said, if you go out and look up wrongful convictions, you're going to see that the number one contributing factor to wrongful conviction is the inadequate police investigations. That they early on they find a lot of information and they focus totally with that without following up and overlooking. I don't think that's the case with this one, but that doesn't mean that the defense isn't going to hammer that home. Mrs. You absolutely have got that 100%. Hello there, Mr. Steve. And behind the scene with Mrs. Steve. Thank you. And it is scary that he could walk and be back out on the streets, even if he's guilty. And but there is that possibility that has it happened before? Yes. And will it happen? And can it happen? Yes. But like I said, it has no bearing on the case. What we believe is the evidence and how we weigh it, who we believe, because it's going to come down to 12 individuals and what is allowed within the court in that testimony. And but absolutely believe that there is. This is the first time, like, do I know Bob Mata on a personal? No. But I've seen and heard about him, and he seems to be well likable and respected within his community. I haven't heard anything bad about the guy. I like his presentations, like the information, like the way he rattles off things, some things. But anyway, but when I saw his eyes light up and that when he was listening to the testimony and he's reviewing his notes of what Click relayed to him, that and how he interpreted that, and that we have a law enforcement officer that will be testifying on the side of the defense. And that doesn't happen a lot, guys. You don't have where law enforcement officers testify against the prosecution on who a suspect is. And that's a huge point. But anyway, Molly says, True Crime Web, I heard that the prosecution mailed out their jury questionnaire already to the jury pool and that the defense maybe hasn't. Sounds like a trial to me, or more poker plays. No, after watching this today, and I don't even know when he first posted it. It's just that this is the first time in 3 or 4 days that I've had time to sit down. I don't know if it's a recent video, if it's 2 or 3 days old. I didn't even look at that. I was just, whatever popped up, I was going through and saw that, and made my heart stop there when I heard that comment by him of what Click um, um, has decided that he is taking, and which takes a great amount of courage and a feeling of belief, because if this officer believes it and that jury sees that emotion and that his um, dedication to his job, that carries a lot of weight, guys. That's that's my only thing I've got going for me is the passion I bring to when I work my cases, when I work and I go out and do everything I can for these families. It's the dedication and it's the work product that I put out there that that's the only thing I can bring to the table, and it has served me well throughout my life. And so, if Investigator Click has that skill set and has that ability, and the jury sees his passion and his belief that no, Richard isn't the guy, um, and he may not say that Richard's not the guy. He may only say that, hey, regardless, this individual here knows something about the case that shouldn't know it. I didn't feed him that information. And when you look at that, well, some of the statements that Elvis made that, well, if you found saliva or where I spit on, but I could explain it, it's all good. And that, of course, Elvis had confessed that he was involved in it to his family. And so, uh, we got big issues here. Yeah, I think there's going to be a trial, Molly Molly, now. I had been hoping not, but I don't think so now. I think we're going to go. Oh, me, Justin in the troll sniper. That's a great name. Okay, Gail. Okay, enjoy your grandson's birthday party, Yorkshire Tea. Uh, what weight do you give to the prosecution timeline, Steve? I don't know if I've seen it moment by moment, but other than information that over the years that's been built up about the timeline, and I have my own timeline of events and how narrow it is, but from the probable cause affidavits of certain individuals being at certain locations, vehicles observed, muddy bloody guy, all that. If that's a timeline you're talking about, I think it's a great presentation, and of course the defense will absolutely try to destroy it because they have to separate when Richard Allen was at the scene from the time frame that if Richard Allen isn't the offender, he has to be a witness. And if Richard Allen isn't a witness, what was he doing during that critical time? Let's see. Um, uh, Ganga Blue says the defense is being denied funds for experts by Judge Gold, though. Um, I know there's some funding issues, and I don't know what the cap is, and I don't know how they will address that. But regardless, if he isn't giving a opportunity at a fair trial, the appeals process will correct that. So, regardless of what people say right now and what's going on, that um, but all that will be argued and brought up later. That if the courts and the attorneys do something wrong, that's not the big issue. That there's always an appeals process that can correct that. And this is pretty much it. Prosecution, and that's the thing is that they now know, the prosecution now understands that this investigator Click, who Holman and Mullins had a meeting with later on, that trying to bring on board and try to figure, that this is the guy. This is why we believe it's the guy. But of course, it doesn't appear from Bob Otter's stance that is way Click is going. That Click is saying, no, y'all are wrong, guys. I have a guy that absolutely is involved in this. And so that's huge. But anyway, the prosecution is going to have to fight to show why a bunch of other people aren't guilty, on top of showing why Richard Allen is guilty. Yes, I don't know, maybe not showing why they're not guilty, but showing that there's some type of connection, and may serve the purpose also. True Crime Time, good to see you. I want to know whose DNA they have. I don't know if they have any. Um, BH, can you honestly say that you believe that this investigation was only up and up, even after hearing Click's testimony? A Goldilocks phone. Um, I'm not into that. There's big conspiracy. Can law enforcement make mistakes? Can they be incompetent? Absolutely. But did they go out and plant evidence and everything? If there's proof of that, I haven't seen it. I don't know of it. If it's for the fact that we have a case that if you was going to frame him, you would have framed him early on. And this next slide is probably the one that is absolutely where the defense, going off of what BH here about the investigation. The facts that the defense is going to absolutely hammer and hammer and hammer on, and they're going to beat this dead horse time and time again throughout this in front of that jury, that when it gets, even every time that in cross-examination, every time that the defense gets an opportunity to throw a whammy in there and just hammer them, they're going to hammer the prosecution on every bias. They're going to hammer them on who and how can you miss a critical tip such as Richard Allen, who says, I was there, and it just gets lost. And they said, well, just in the paperwork or whatever. And then we have the lost interviews. You have the possible missed round at the scene. We don't know if the round was missed or not, although certain people, of course, say that it was and that it was gone back to. And when the defense has their side of it, regardless of what they do during the prosecution side, they're going to hammer the prosecution. They're going to hammer every prosecution witness, and they're going to be calling people back up to the stand, and it's not going to be pretty. So, BH, well, I think the investigation that law enforcement did their best. Were there certain things that were possibly overlooked? Absolutely. And Courtney Lane is, I'm not convinced Richard Allen is the person who did the crime. And this is fair to say, because, and this is what we should have. And this is what we're going to have on that jury pool, guys. You're going to have people, you're not going to have anyone on that jury that says, yes, I'm convinced that Richard Allen did it. We're not going to get 12 people that says, yes, Richard Allen's guilty, and now you're going to have to prove he's innocent. That's not who we're going to be getting. We're going to be getting people like Courtney Lane, that they have no opinion that, well, Courtney can't be on the jury either, for the fact, but she might could be, because she didn't say, I know Richard Allen is innocent, he's not guilty. But this is pretty borderline exactly the type of jurors that we're going to have. We're going to have jurors that, one way or the other, they don't know if Richard Allen is innocent or guilty. They have no clue. And they may, now some of them may have some limited knowledge of the case, but it's not going to be a bunch of people from the YouTube world and the creators out here that are going to be on that jury and listening to the evidence and have our preconceived notions that, and our biases of that law enforcement is right, they got the right guy. That ain't who's going to be on that jury. Nowhere close to it. I want to know what, if anything, was found in Richard Allen's house. We pretty well know that everything that the defense went after and trying to have suppressed is what they found in the house that they don't want to be out there. So anytime the defense says, I want something thrown out, or I don't, it should be thrown out, it should be suppressed to make the trial fair, including the gun. They want to break that chain. They want to break the links of anything that aligns where Richard Allen is at that scene, or anything that Richard Allen owns is at that scene, and or anything that his confessions and all that. They want to break it, and they have to break it. Helen from South Australia, good to see you. Kangaroo, what are your thoughts on the lack of integrity shown by Ellie in this case? I'm sure that's not how you conducted yourself on the job. Um, and I know that we're currently, the defense has thrown out there that lies were made by law enforcement. Um, I, I mean, we're on opposite poles here. Um, if there's anybody that broke any rules, that lied or presented information or created data that isn't on the up and up, they'll pay for that at some point during this trial. I just don't know what the proof of lack of integrity. Just because, and this is the thing that we have to be careful of, that uh, when you're pro prosecution, that everything the prosecution says, that yes, we carry that 100% absolutely is true. And if you're pro defense, everything that the defense says is absolutely 100% true. So that if the defense says that, well, law enforcement's corrupt, we give it a higher value. Whereas if you're pro prosecution, when they say that, well, we should hold the attorneys and the defense attorneys in contempt, that we give that more of value. And so the truth is somewhere in the middle between those. And so I'm giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. The trial will sort all this out, and what evidence is permitted will be our base and our foundation of how truthful law enforcement was, and the prosecution on this. Olivia, I also want to know if the offender's skin was possibly found under the girl's fingernail. No, I don't believe so. If his skin was found under there, and we had good DNA profile, we would absolutely not have a offend. Richard Allen wouldn't be a question. Um, now that doesn't mean that they won't discover some type of DNA profile in the future. There's possible. True crime time. If you set aside the odiness and leaks and look at the evidence as we know it, you'll see problems. Um, yeah, I mean, we're 6 years. Well, now we're longer than that, but from time of Richard Allen coming forward to the arrest, that they had their guy, just like I've said. No one thought that this case would take longer than just a few days. And if someone had absolutely looked at that, and everyone around ground zero originally had been investigated and looked at thoroughly, um, and would we be in this case today like this? But there was a reason, there was something, and they said it was a misfiling of his um, field interview that led to this. So, yeah, there is problems. I understand that. Oh, Helen, Brenda, good to see you. Defense is trying really hard to get the search warrant for his house thrown out. I've got a feeling they found evidence that, yes, there's some type of connection there. Is it going to be one of those phones that did ping? That's a burner phone. Is that going to be that something that pinged on that trail? And it's very possible, uh, but we won't know until. And then, of course, we've got the gun. Hi, Steve. Why won't they arrest anyone else? That's a good point, and I'm sure that's the exact point that Investigator Click is wanting to make sure that is brought to the attention of the world, because he went up there and testified and to the truth of as he believes it, and and that's powerful. I mean, when an officer believes something, and I've been there. That now does that mean that everything I believe could I be wrong? Absolutely. I've been wrong about things in my life, and we all have. And just, you know, luckily, uh, we have the ability of looking at and have other people look at things and correct what is either overlooked or given a different perspective for us to reevaluate. And once we reevaluate, we say, yeah, you're right. I was looking at it from a wrong perspective, and and Click may, he could be absolutely 100% right, or he could be absolutely 100% wrong, or he's right and wrong. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at it. Yeah, there's a lot of questions about the expert stuff. Um, that the money was denied for the same type of expert. Money was given for expert requested of each type, and that um, if you go out there shopping for an expert that you're just wanting an opinion of, that if you go in and you get an expert and he agrees with the prosecution, and then you want saying, well, no, that's not the expert we want. We want the expert that says that it's 100% hired guns, and that's what the courts stay out of. They won't fund a hired gun. It happens a lot, but it's not always. Yes, and this is one of the points that Bob brought out. That I think it's fact that Elvis mentioned antlers on top of one of their heads, but it's not even clear those sticks were meant to look like that. Um, while there's twigs in that and hair, but I did not see antlers. But that doesn't mean I have the images or I don't have the right images. Like I said, I always question because I know what my skill sets are with um, Photoshop, and I know what I can put into an image, and I know what I can take out of an image, and so I always question anytime because I don't know what generation images are out there. I don't know what generation images I have. Don't know how correct they are or how wrong they are. And do I think there's more than one set of images out there? Absolutely. For the fact I've listened to other people that said they've seen the images and either they're misleading as seeing because I didn't see what they saw and I saw things that they didn't see. And so I don't understand that other than there has to be more than what I saw. That's very kind of you, Helen. I love Steve and all the hard work he and Mrs. Steve do to give us the best ideas on how the police investigate a crime. And I'm and what we're seeing today and what Bob Mata was absolutely talking about. Um, this happens in law enforcement quite a bit, guys. You just don't see it on the stand, and that's the key point. Officers get in some of these. Absolutely, you think that there's going to be a gunfight. I mean, officers will yell, cuss, almost get in physical alteration, altercations, and and absolutely, it's amazing sometimes how people get so defensive. But it's human nature that you defend your ideas, and I've seen it, and we have to have that because through those arguments and through that method of hashing out key points of evidence, that's how we get to make sure that the system is working. Mr. Scott, Mr. C, I got my family watching TCW tonight, celebrate my youngest son's birthday. He's 25 today, but congrats. Happy birthday to him. Um, Now that I appreciate that. That is a compliment beyond anything I could ever expect. Thank you. Truth exposed. That's a new one. $15. That's lunch. Absolutely. Thank you. I haven't got up to all the star sections. Thank you for that. It's very kind of you, Barbara, and thank you for everything that you have done. And as a mother and watching you fight for your justice for Timmy is absolutely that is amazing. What you have gone through over the years, and absolutely wish you the best. And Junior, I agree with you. I don't think they would have arrested him if they didn't have solid evidence. I'm with you. Was anyone else surprised IgG was not used in this case? I don't think the profile was the DNA was of enough uh, quantity to do that. Lori Thompson, does anyone think it's a problem when is Delphi law enforcement refused a search warrants based on a video of a abduction at gunpoint by a known player and click defense has it absolutely. All this is going on. Now, some of this stuff may or may not get in there, um, but uh, a lot of what Click says is going to get in there. Some of the stuff about other crimes that are committed by these individuals isn't going to get in there, but it will get in there about his investigation. Now, will they be able to wrangle through some type of question of getting to other crimes committed by some of these people? I doubt it, but who knows? There's some talented um, attorneys that are helping on this case, and they would. There's possibility of anything. And I agree with you, Olivia. I don't think he would have been without proper evidence. And like I said, not only the evidence that was given to him, but since then, um, some of the things that have occurred, such as his confessions, I think they have the right guy. Yes, like I said, I don't know Bob. I've never dealt with him, but I respect him. I respect a lot of the defensive attorneys out there. For like I said, they level the field. And say, legendary CEO, Platinum Pony. Oh yeah, they will say Click had tunnel vision. I'm not so sure. They can say whatever they want about his tunnel vision or whatever. It's what Click will say to that jury. Um, and now with in closing arguments, can the prosecution get some statements in there? Possible, um, but it it really matters what Click says, and it matters the impression that he gives that jury. Yorkshire Yorkshire tea, 5 pounds. Hi, Steve. I think the prosecution timeline puts Richard out in trouble. What weight do you give the timeline given the new revelations on the 18th of March? Um, I still think the timeline is correct. I really do. Um, could they, even with the revelations that there were other phones in the area, um, is that supporting that? Is that some of this other information that will feed along what the defense wants to, as far as building the foundation that, yes, there's others that were there. These phones prove it, that law enforcement didn't talk to everyone. And how could Elvis know certain information? And he can only know information is if he was there or he saw images of the crime scene, if some of this information is correct. Tracy says, oh, let me see here. Tracy said, I don't understand why he's being held in a prison. I did a show the other day. Prisons and jails, the only difference is really the time spent in that. And actually, some of the information was that prisons, due to their long-term holding capabilities, that they have better medical staff, psychological, food, and there were certain advantages as far as prison versus jail. There's no difference. If you go back and look at their show, you'll see that there's pictures of county facilities and state prisons and federal prisons, and you can't tell one facility from another on the inside. They all have the same concrete block, steel doors, um, bedding. They're all the same. And uh, gifted one true web membership. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yorkshire, I don't know if I gave you a blue line or not. I can't remember. That happens as we get older. Oh, man. Yes. Uh, get a look see. I like that name. Happy 25th birthday to your son, Mitzi. Absolutely. Steve, were you ever surprised by a jury decision? Were you 100% convinced of the verdict and it went the other way? Sure. And it happens. You go in there, you have the evidence, you feel with it. Um, Sometimes it's not always and it's a different jury that surprised me far more than when you went to a jury trial as far as conviction. But grand juries are the ones that will absolutely surprise you and knock your socks off, and you just go home and stare at the wall thinking, what in the world? Because um, uh, sometimes, for whatever reason, a grand jury will say, nope, that's not enough, and they won't indict. And I've been there. And so grand juries have surprised me far more than a trial jury. And I wish they would put true crime time. I wish we would. We did have cameras in that courtroom. If he found not guilty and it's caused the state arrest him without enough evidence, I truly think that's what happened. Sad for the family. I think they have enough evidence. I really do. And but there's a lot of things that can lead um, to a finding of innocence. BH, I would love to hear what happened to the fingerprint they had and now don't. Um, I know that there was mentioned one time partial, and what does that mean? And was it even because partials can be identified, and I just don't know how good it was. I haven't seen it. Don't know if they have even fingerprints. You photograph them, you know, uh, or at least I did. Just because uh, you don't always rely upon a fingerprint lift card that you have. You go ahead and photograph it, and but evidently they don't have. I don't know if they have that or not. And this is, do you think the jury will recognize the defense pointing the finger at others doesn't necessarily exclude Richard Allen from being involved in the crime? Yes. And that's the prosecution will hammer home that, that they're going to, if the defense gets in there, they're going to say, and every defense witness that gets up there possibly and says something, they're going to hammer that home. That's what the prosecution will hammer, that regardless of what this is, do you have evidence that says Richard Allen wasn't there? Or maybe not that in that manner, but they will get that point across. Sirius Black, good to see you. Yes, everything's good. Um, I'm not saying they framed him. I'm saying they didn't get all the evidence. I can guarantee you they didn't get all the evidence. You never get all the evidence. It's impossible to get everything. A lot of times, all you're hoping for is uh, that you collect the best evidence you can and it tells the story accurately and convincingly. Sensei, True Crime Web, if law enforcement can prove Richard Allen is BG on the video by Libby, then RA would have to explain what happened when he came back over the bridge and left the girls unharmed. And from the FBI affidavit with Logan, um, I don't think that's a possibility because we only have a few seconds. If you go by what the FBI said, that from the start of that video to what he down the hill, and possibly within that audio, there is also a firearm. Um, that's not going to happen. That if law enforcement can prove RA is that, he's a part of it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yes, having DNA and having it where it's of enough quantity to establish a profile is two different things. They can have DNA. Crap. I'm that jerk. Oh, me. Tech death, hippie. Hello, Gail. True crime. I'm absolutely 50-50. If the tapes were really accidentally recorded over, then Nick should have told the defense about it when we first started handing over discovery. Um, Not always, and I don't know in this case, but there's times that in my career, I did recordings. Now I've had some recordings I turned over to be transcribed, and they were transcribed, but everything was lost. Hard time on the stand with those. Um, but also, there's times that you take a recording, especially in old when it really was cassette tape or a micro tape, which if any of y'all has never used the old micro cassettes, that you throw them in there and record, and you throw them in the case file. Not on the major cases, you're going to be redundant on those, but there is the possibility of you doing everything right, and for whatever reason, this piece of metal that's manufactured by man fails. and and I turn it in to be transcribed, and they say there's nothing on it, snow and or crackling, and it just makes your heart drop. But uh, but what 70 days they say got recorded over. I don't know who their IT is, but he's got issues. Yeah, it was 50-50 also. True crime, well, the juror's going to be from Allen County or Carroll County. I don't know which county they have selected that the jurors would come from. They could go to a different jury pool, absolutely, and I don't know which one they're going to pull from, because now that's how they do it in Georgia. It can be from what they'll have hearings and they'll try to set up, but I don't know which county it would be from. She can minimize the crazy by doing the right thing. They're going to be, well, once you live in crazy town, you're there for a long time. Texas Ranger, dang, what have I missed? Oh, True crime says that it will be Allen County. I didn't know if they were going to do it or not. Helen says, "From what I've seen so far, I think Richard Allen looks more not guilty. That's is why I can't wait for the trial to see what the state has to show that he is, with no doubt, my opinion." That's fair enough. But like I said, he can be guilty of sin, but all we have to have is one juror um, say that they're not sure and won't convict, and that's all it takes. And when you have a professional law enforcement officer on the stand making that argument, um, and how the prosecution will be able to overcome that will be interesting. Connie Hill. Hello, Stephen Chat. Sorry I'm late. You're not late. You're here. To me, the confession by Richard Allen hold more weight than some crazy off the wall Odinist theory. And that's the thing is, I don't care about the wild off the wall Odinist theory. That means absolutely nothing to me. What does matter to me is that we have a law enforcement officer that was looking at it, and not so much the Odinist theory, but that we have an individual that confessed to his family and then made these weird statements and stated certain things that convinced this law enforcement officer that he's involved, regardless if it's Odinist or not. That's not the point. The point is that we have a law enforcement officer saying that he believes others are involved and these are the others, and which doesn't take the guilt away from Richard Allen, but the defense isn't going to hammer home that point. They're going to hammer home that this law enforcement officer says this person is involved, and they're going to drive that nail and hit it as hard as many times as they can. And I don't know if it's exactly cat hairs or what type of hairs. I don't know. I know they were looking for different types of animal hairs. Let's see here. I wonder if there's any data record they looked at stock ticker and timestamp. Um, that's fair enough. And um, is that possible? It is. And they will check on that if it's provable, and if the defense can prove it. You know, it won't just be the prosecution, be the defense, because that's what Richard Allen says he was doing. Question, Helen. Do you think maybe the investigation had blinders on and only had their sights on Richard Allen? Maybe this is where they went wrong. Um, no, I think that they had their sights on a lot of them, for the fact that we have investigator Click that way back in the day had his sights on uh, uh, this individual and interviewed him, and was looking into these other individuals. And then we had people that sites were on Keegan Klein. We had FBI whose sites were on Logan. And they pick. And why is the defense going with um, the Odinist theory? And the backing of it is, and I absolutely believe, for the fact that when they look at which investigator that has the most powerful argument for their bringing doubt to the jurors, that's Richard Allen is Click, that he is their ace in the hole. I really believe that's what they believe. And is it possible? It most certainly is. Melina, talking about Bob Mata podcast on Gacy and Cracks. Yeah, I had heard that his father was one of the was the attorney that represented him or Gacy. Let's see here. If you had been Dolan and interviewed Rick, and he said he was there during the time of the homicides, would your follow up question be wanting to find the three girls he seen? That seems strange. Um, and Well, his job was to just go out and do field interviews. It may not be that he just went out and did a particular job. Um, it's not so much that he's an investigator that goes out and does follow ups. He did his job of what he thought from the field interview would be. Been there myself. I've been sent out to pick up that when back in my earlier days on the road, or even younger years in investigations, that when we had a major case, we may just be simply gone sent to go pick up individuals to bring back or go ask somebody a question. And that was it, not to follow up, but we took it back to the investigators that was handling and let them follow up and evaluate. Gail, $10 super sticker. Thank you. Get my big head out of the way there. I'm on the road, and so this. Thank you for your support. I will use that. I should have introduced myself. You did. That's good enough. My mice, they're talking about wild redressing, wild movement, um, posing, staging. All of that tells a story that is known to the offender and to the offender only. And while we can interpret and say that certain things were done in addition to the crime, and why would that be? It just tells you a little bit about that type of offender. Johnny Kramer, the music movie channel. I agree they never would arrest him without some proof, whether it be data, DNA, evidence showing he was present there at the time, other than a photo. Absolutely. Helen, all the defense needs to prove is that this crime could not have been done by one person. Guess what he walks. Let alone any other evidence they may have. Yeah, I mean, uh, juries do strange things, or all we need is one jury or one juror to do something um, that would cause a hung jury. My true crime time. I have no idea why anyone would do that, but that's what's in the Odinus Franks memo. And they've confirmed at least that Abby was wearing Libby's sweatshirt. Redfoot, good to see you. I hope I'm not missing too much. Like I said, I had been hoping for a plea and thought that more than likely would be, but I don't, not after what I've heard lately. Daly said that Richard Allen messed up like most criminals do. Yes, I mean, and I agree that did he believe or did he know that image was made, and is he the guy on the bridge? Timeline says that yes. Uh, the probability of him being on that bridge is very, very high, and I agree with law enforcement that more, he says that he's wearing that type of clothing. And Texas Ranger Steve, that edge weapon should still have DNA, even if they cleaned it right, if they took it apart. And that is, a lot of times they do. They'll take that knife apart, and not only knives, but any type of weapon has the potential that through the cleaning process or wiping down or storage, that some of the DNA or blood containing DNA can get in places that can't be cleaned and can last a long time. So there's that possibility. Kowalski, I'd be interested to know if Richard Allen was questioned officially after his Miranda rights were read to him. Um, I absolutely believe that will be the case. That's one of the things that law enforcement officers understand, um, that once an individual uh, is in custody, it applies. Um, and so if they messed up on that, then there will be issues. Barbara Hall, Mr. Steve, is it true that when a person commits a crime, they make at least 3 mistakes? Um, Probably 10 times that. And now, are all those mistakes found? No. A lot of them are, and that's what leads to the arrest. But yes, I would think that for the first thing is that when you commit a crime, you're making a mistake to start with, and everything from that point of you're having to create a lie to cover where you were at, and it's so difficult to absolutely cover every base. It's impossible to cover all your bases without other crimes being committed, and there's plenty of mistakes, and it's just a matter of looking at these crimes and trying to evaluate and determine, um, from looking at what are the weak links, who will break, what evidence is known, how can we use new technologies to assist us, and but yes, at least three to start with. Three, there's at least 3 mistakes made during the planning stages, even before you go and commit a crime, I would think. And you're right. We don't know all the evidence they have. No, we don't. Let's see here. Scott Daly. There's more people on death row with a heck of a lot less evidence they have on Richard Allen. I would think that yes, that there's been people that have paid the ultimate price for less than what's here. I'm staying now a crazy town. I've been to a lot of crazy towns. I travel through them quite frequently. And Scott Daly, you are correct. If Richard Allen gave any details in those confessions, and which you say you heard, he's totally yes. He has done something that his attorneys won't appreciate. Hope I haven't missed too many. Yeah, I get this all the time that people send me everything about the sacrifices, and all this, and I asked for the links because I don't know of, if we had a group of any individuals traveling the country, sacrificing the young, innocent children, we would have the masses looking for these individuals. And I don't know that's to be the case. Dino, 999 super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate your support. Deb, come on. I'm confused. Can't RA be found guilty even if others were also involved? Absolutely. Uh, but uh, the defense will argue it the other way, that he wasn't involved, and that this passionate officer, professional officer, is correct on who is responsible. Thank you, Dino. Yes, I've got a lot of driving to do. Even I'm handling several different cases this week, so a lot of things going on. Ruckus Rock. Hey, Steve. Good to see you, sir. Jinx. Justin, Troll Sniper. I love that. I think we all wish there was more than circumstantial evidence, but when so much uh, circumstantial evidence points his way, it's hard for me to dismiss it. Um, and there is more than just circumstantial. Really, you know. And unsolved crimes. I'm not sold on his confessions. We haven't heard them. We don't even know if he was the one to have spoken to his mother wife directly. Something is very wrong with all of this. And once again, this is exactly what we have to have. We have to have people question everything that others take for granted. The others, we have to have a certain part of the population that says, hold on a minute, we don't know everything. Um, and while I believe and have seen in the way that I've obtained phone call conversations through from jail to individuals, that there's a process of how those calls are handled and who's talking to who can make that call, and how it's done and how it's recorded, and the recognition that is going on between the two individuals, um, that I believe that there would be there, but that's my opinion. And unsolved crime, of course, this is what makes sure that everything is on a level field. Yeah, it will be interesting to see exactly um, when the tip was found about Richard Allen. From that time, how long did it take for them to arrest him? Um, is the trial going to be televised? Has that been announced either way? Not that I know of. Oh yes, if y'all haven't seen Unsolved Crime Uncover, I agree with you that 100%. Check her channel out. Great channel. And this is absolutely, Junior, you're correct. Everyone loves a conspiracy theory, but facts matter. Well put. And Ivy Rose, that's a good point. For me, the fact that people have been convicted of major crimes with less evidence than what we currently know about Richard Allen makes me um, side eye those cases more than ups my confidence in Richard Allen's guilt. Fair enough. Tom in. $10. Let's see. Let me get over here and figure out. If I can figure out with my setup, like I said, I'm in this motel room and with my mobile studio. It would be wild if he walked. The ammo markings arguments would be interesting. Law enforcement will have to prove that they found it where they said they found it. His shoe prints will tell a story. Small feet. And that is absolutely 100% correct. That if they cross that muddy creek, you leave tracks, and they will not only tracks, but it can be handprints. It can be arm from elbows to your hand. There's so many things that can be measured and analyzed that if you cross a muddy area, if you fall, that they can tell a lot of things about you, and that will be interesting. Serenity Mile. I may miss some people. I've been big fish, small pond. And Unsolved says, a true crime web. The research I've uncovered regarding facts surrounding this case and the players make me sick. I normally back the blue, but I believe we're ahead being lied to. And the courts will sort that out if we're being lied to or not. What was Richard Allen's reaction to seeing the BG video? That would be absolutely something that will probably be asked of family members of what was his reaction if they can get that in. But that's a great question. This is about as equalized that I couldn't get on board that Koberger conspiracy train, but Delphi, that's open minded there. Normally conspiracy theorists are on every train they can find. They go to the crazy town train station and jump on every conspiracy. But I appreciate that remark. That's a good one. All right. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Like I said, I'm on the road, and it's hard for me to get out and do a lot of research. I was out taking pictures of different areas today and doing some mileage. Still got some other cases I got to work on this week. I appreciate all the support, everyone. Um, Laura, Laura says, just jumped in. Does hammer mean an actual hammer? No, it's what the defense is going to hammer on the every witness and prosecution on that slide. It's that they're going to beat that dead horse into the ground time and time again, and they're going to hammer those points of everything from was there, why were things missed? What did law enforcement messed up? Why was it messed up? Why was evidence destroyed? They're just going to hammer that home. But I want to thank everybody for being on here tonight. I want to thank all our supporters. Let me go back through all of those right quick. Let me go over here. Gail Hurd. Gail Hurd again. Gail Hurd again. Bridget Bowman, thank you. Gail, thank you for that. Yorkshire Tea. And let me get on down through here. Just make sure I didn't miss anyone. Brenda, Birkendock, One True Membership, thank you. Gail, $10. Dean, $9.99. Tom M, 10. I appreciate all y'all support. I appreciate all our viewers, all the comments. Like, share, subscribe with this if you like it, and I appreciate it. As our channel gets a larger footprint, we're able to go out and, you know, everything that y'all do for this channel is absolutely amazing. We try to help as many families as possible, and we appreciate everyone being part of this team. We thank y'all. But y'all stay safe, and I'm going to try to have a members meeting or members show tomorrow evening if everything works out timeline wise. So if not, I'll see you Tuesday night. But for our members, I'm going to try to get with y'all tomorrow night. But y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.